Documentary on journey of father of nation from barrister to Mahatma.
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who is known as the father of India. But throughout his life, he evoked mixed feeling. He was viewed alternatively as a fanatic or an eccentric or reactionary revolutionary saint or messiah. Something about him touched hearts all over the world. People who didn't know where India was, didn't know what the issue were, there was something about him that touched their lives. He was a man of many faces. He had this tremendously focused sense of humor and very mischievous, and could be fairly that sound awfully disrespectful to say naughty, what wicked leader of 1/5 of world's people. He had an extraordinary capacity to talk to massive crowd on a one-to-one basis. I think everybody sitting here thought that Gandhiji was talking to him, playful father and friend in some caricatures. They made him look like a monkey and a green father. Used to laugh at that and sometimes joke and says, "Here's your monkey." I'm incoming now inspiration to future generation in the Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi is a barrister. Mahatma Gandhi sailed for England on 4th September 1888 to study law and become a barrister. He kept terms at the Inner Temple, and after 9 months intensive study, he took all his subjects in one examination which he passed. He was called to the bar on 10th June 1891 and was enrolled in the High Court of England the next day. A day later, he sailed India. After his return to India, he started practice as a lawyer at first in the High Court at Bombay and a little later in Rajkot, but did not make much headway in the profession. It was only when the hand of destiny guided his steps to South Africa that he soon made his mark there as a lawyer and as a public worker. Gandhiji practiced as a lawyer for over 20 years before he gave up the practice of the profession in order to devote all his time to public service. The valuable experience and skill that he acquired in the course of his large practice stood him in fighting his battles with the South African and British governments for securing political, economic, and social justice for his fellow countrymen. Gandhiji went to South Africa in April 1893 and stayed for a whole year in Pretoria in connection with the case of Said Dada Abdullah, who was involved in a civil suit with his relative Said Tayyab Haji Khan Muhammad. Gandhiji took the keenest interest in the case and threw his heart and soul into it. Gandhiji was overjoyed at the success of his first case in South Africa and concluded that the whole duty of an advocate was not to exploit legal and adversary advantages, but to promote compromise and reconciliation.
Characteristic of Mahatma Gandhi. Truth like nonviolence was the first article of his faith and last article of his creed. There was one characteristic more than another that stumped Gandhiji as a man amongst men. It was his extraordinary love of truth. It was no wonder that in his practice of law he maintained the highest tradition of profession and did not swerve by a hair's breadth from path of rectitude and integrity. He was always valiant for truth, bold in asserting it in scorn of all consequence, and never sold the truth to serve the interest of his clients. It may be truly be said of him that he practiced law without compromising that truth. Truth was the only touchstone by which he judges him duty towards his clients and the court. According to him, the greatest wrong a lawyer could commit in the process of law was to be a party to the miscarriage of justice. As far as possible, Gandhiji advised his client to settle with their opponents out of court. A large part of his legal practice was in the interest of public work, for which he changed nothing beyond out-of-pocket expenses, and these too he sometimes met himself. The Inner Temple, which had disbanded Gandhiji in 1922 after his imprisonment during his first civil disobedience movement in India, has since not only restored his name on its roll, but honored his immortal memory by unveiling in 1984 his special portrait in the library of Inner Temple. Further, Gandhiji bust now adorns the coffee room of Inner Temple and his statue has been installed in its lawn.
The trial, which took place on March 18, 1922 in the small crowded courtroom in Ahmedabad before the District and Sessions Judge Robert Broomfield, was so calm, so orderly, and so lacking in contentiousness and anger that it assumed the character of a quiet confrontation between two men who had known and studied each other for a long time. The judge was the son of a lawyer and he had a long experience of the law. He came to India as a junior barrister attached to the Indian Civil Services in 1905 and had spent all his active life within the Bombay Presidency. The trial came to be known as the Great Trial because both the judge and the prisoner behaved with uncommon courtesy and because Gandhiji had started the case for India's freedom with fairness and precision. Gandhiji's role as a lawyer in society has been very forcefully described by the American author Mr. James Kavanagh, who in a warm and moving tribute to his work observed. Parts 1 and 2 of the book deal with Gandhiji as a law student and as a practicing barrister. The editor craves the indulgence of the reader for including in these parts some portions of Gandhiji's autobiography which strictly speaking have no bearing on the subject of this book. Part 3 of the book contains the political trials of Gandhiji in South Africa and in India. Here Gandhiji appears in the role of a satyagrahi as a civil register of unjust laws. The trial of Gandhiji at Ahmedabad in 1922 remained one of the most momentous and memorable events of modern times. Never before was such a prisoner arraigned before a British court of justice. The late Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, who was present at the trial, has with her usual felicity of expression given a very vivid and moving account of the trial which will interest the reader.
Sir Thomas Strangeman, who was the Advocate General of Bombay, conducted the prosecution of Gandhiji on behalf of the state, was deeply moved by the prevailing atmosphere of the trial. Gandhiji's speech at the trial, pleading guilty the offence of sedition with which he had been charged and inviting Judge Broomfield to inflict on him the severest penalty, has now become a part of English literature and finds a place of honor in the great legal classic. Barring the trial of Socrates, this is perhaps no trial in the history of mankind comparable to that of Gandhiji, which stimulated so much interest. There is no doubt that these were all contributory factors which invested the trial. The chief and the most important factor which made the trial historic was the profound issue involved in it. The trial is of profound and momentous significance in that Gandhiji during the trial sought to establish beyond doubt the superiority of soul force over sheer brute force born of the gospel of self-suffering and the doctrine of willful yet holy withdrawal from all that is foul.
Part 4 of the book discusses the role of lawyers in Satyagraha struggle, and Part 5 deals with the Gandhiji's views on sundry and miscellaneous topics having some bearing on the subject of this book. Appendix 2 contains select thoughts of Gandhiji on the law and the lawyers. Appendix 3 contains the text of the speech of late B.N. Gokhale, ex-judge of the Bombay High Court, and Appendix 4 contains Gandhiji application dated 16/11/1891 for enrollment as an advocate of the Bombay High Court. Many people regarded the law as something of mystery, and there is a considerable amount of prejudice against the lawyers which exists in the minds of many members of the public. The lawyer's profession is regarded by many people as a liar profession. Dean Swift in Gulliver's Travels, when he said of the bar that they were a society of men bred up from their youth in art of proving by words multiplied for the purpose that white is black and black is white according as they are paid. This charge is effectively answered by Mahatma, who believed in spiritualizing not only public life but also the practice of the legal professions. Once he remarked that the duty of a lawyer is always to place before the judges and to help them to arrive at the truth, never to prove the guilty as innocent. Year by year, the enlightened opinion of the world enshrines Gandhi in a noble place in the hearts of mankind. This book will have more than served its purpose if it inspires the reader, be he a lawyer or a layman, with the belief that the vocation of a lawyer is an honorable vocation requiring the highest standards of rectitude, integrity, and uprightness. And this that is practice is no way inconsistent with the pursuit of truth. Thank you.